So I've told this to a few friends who enjoy it but write it off. It still bothers me at night, and sometimes I have panic attacks when I get too deep into it because the same feelings return full force. I went to University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, which is known for its strange architecture, lots of small and large spaces, sharp angles, and all of that. My sophomore year, I lived off campus for a bit and would often go over to one of the main buildings at night to do work in the lab. When the lab closed, I would sit in one of the atriums because it had better Wi-Fi than my place, and I got my work done better. I was usually alone, except a person here or there. Mind you, I would stay until 11 or 12 at night, or even later, during finals. One night in mid-December during finals, I was sitting and taking notes alone late, with my headphones in, playing white noise. Given the winter, I was wearing a sweatshirt I'd had for a long time and my peacoat on top of it because the buildings were frigid. I thought I heard a click or bump, so I removed them, heard nothing, and then put them back on, when a piece of loose leaf paper floated down to me and landed in my stuff. I looked up and saw someone staring over the third floor and quickly took their head back. I figured someone accidentally dropped it and was embarrassed or scared, but got creeped out, so I went home, but had a weird feeling, which I wrote off as it just being late and a creepy campus. Fast forward to December or my 5th year, and I was commuting from home for my last year. During finals, I decided to stay with my old roommates for a night, to use the lab late, and get stuff done. As I was leaving the 3rd floor lab, I was carrying stuff under my paper while putting on my backpack. A bunch of papers slipped through my folder and onto the floor. I collected them and stacked them up on the ledge of the 3rd floor balcony. As I lifted them up, still on my knees mind you, I saw a piece of frill rip off the side of the paper, and I immediately shot up to watch it fall. I don't know why I even cared to watch it. It was like instinctual. While I was standing up in that split second, I caught the craziest deja vu in my life. As I looked over, I almost became sick because I saw myself wearing my same gray sweatshirt I used to own in a peacoat, staring right at me. The stares this person / myself had was not one of confusion, but one that acknowledged me like, "I know," or "You're caught." I immediately pulled away and literally ran down the exit and out of the building. I was pretty much crying, but I still hadn't really processed it. I felt overwhelmed with fear, confusion, and weird deja vu, feelings that felt like someone had died or something awful had happened. The other me was in the exact same spot that I had my first experience, and had the laptop on his lap and his stuff on the bench next to him where mine was. I told my roommates when I got back, but I was in such hysteria. They really looked at me, concerned and kind of scared. I calmed down and wrote it off as weird, or stress, or being high, or something along those lines. My roommates still agree to this day it was a very creepy situation, and I have had to call them before while telling the story to friends. Had my roommate not seen me, I don't know what I would do, because they still get freaked out, thinking I wasn't myself and I was ghost white. I had to go back the next day and track down my stuff, which someone returned to a nearby classroom. I could not take the anxiety and didn't return the rest of the week. To this day, I contemplate my sanity, but that was the only instance of anything remotely insane to happen to me. Although my anxiety at times can be overwhelming now. I've never been back in that building since, despite how critical it was to my major. My last semester was a lot of minor related courses. I graduated, but chose not to walk. For a long time I rationalized that I was projecting myself onto this person, or my two memories had combined. But the face that was looking at me was a face of such a certain gesture that I will never be able to describe the emotion that it conveyed. And still, I think it was a time warp thing. The face that looked back at me was so bizarre, I cannot describe it. Like it was waiting for me, looking right at me when I peeked over. It somehow knew I was there and waiting. I still get goosebumps to this day, even as I write this, and have forever been scared to turn corners or look up. Driving home on a stormy day, I see that a side road up to the local golf course is blocked off by flashing barricades. I also spy a Mercedes parked past the barricades with its hazards on. I stop and walk up to the car to see if they need help. As I'm an EMT, I shine my light in the back seat to see a man slumped over and apparently asleep, thinking I've got a few drunks. I move up to the driver's side window and rap on the glass and shine my light in. The driver is sitting bolt upright, unmoving, and staring straight ahead. My window wrapping her light does not cause him to blink, flinch, or move. I look over and the passenger is slumped forward onto the dash. This begins to creep me out. I call down to the sheriff's station and request a code 2, no lights and sirens unit, up to my location to help me out as the doors are locked. While on the phone, I walk back to my truck to get my go bag. As I'm on the phone with dispatch, she asks me to get a license number for the car, just as a PG&E cherry picker truck comes rumbling down from up the closed road. I move to go around the truck to get the plate number, and the car is gone. I talked to the driver of the truck and he said there was an 80-foot tree down across the road and that he did not think it would be open for a day or so. So the question is, where the hell did the car go? The tree is up one way and barricades are down the other. It has kept me a bit unsettled when stopping at accidents and hazards since then. Here's the intersection via Google Maps. The barricades were less than 5 feet in front of the camera, and the tree was up around the distant bend. Any thoughts regarding the story, guys? Please leave them in the comment section below. This is a story I have never told anyone because, well, even I think I sound a bit crazy for telling it. For some backstory, me and my then girlfriend, let's call her Audrey, went to see a movie a couple years ago, Transporter 3 I believe. We both smoked at the time and were collectively out of smokes, so on the way to the theater, we went to grab a pack. Because of this, we were a bit late to the movie and never had the chance for a pre-flick cigarette. We saw the movie and on our way out, a friend, let's call him Mike, came up and asked if we wanted to join him for a smoke. As we walked out of the building, Audrey took the plastic off the pack we just bought, took out a smoke for the both of us to share, and tossed the plastic into a trash can. As we stood talking to Mike, a guy came up to us and asked Audrey for a smoke, and she told him we were smoking our last one. This guy did not take kindly to that and started shouting about how she's lying and how she has no right to lie to him. We offered him a sorry dude and tried to walk away. Then things got messy. He grabbed Audrey's wrist and wouldn't let go and started shouting obscenities. Now I'm not going to let someone harm the person I love, so I stepped between them and grabbed the arm he was using to hold her. Then before I knew what was happening, I had a horrible pain in my throat and stomach. My coat was getting wet and Audrey was shouting, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" I also heard Mike saying, "What the fuck?" and "Oh my god." Then I started feeling what I can only describe as exhaustion, and I no longer had the strength to hold my head up. As my head was drooping, I saw the red all over my coat and the knife the guy was holding. My vision started going black and sounds became muffled. As I felt gravity overcome me, I heard a single sound coming from all around me, like it was the only thing that had existed. It was Audrey calling my name for help. Just once. The instant after I heard her, it felt as though the universe began to shake. A mid-range hum took over my ears, and all the black became a flash of blinding white. Then I was inside the movie theater, next to Audrey with Mike, apologizing for startling us so badly. We were apparently white as ghosts. He then asked us if we would join him for a smoke, and Audrey quickly declined. We left the theater without saying a word to each other. I decided to break one of my own rules and asked Audrey for a cigarette. When we got in my car, she took them out of her jacket and put the plasticless pack on the dash in front of me. I began shaking when I opened it and saw a single smoke missing. Audrey let out the most fearful scream I have ever heard in my life. When we drove past a guy walking through the parking lot, we noticed it was him. She insisted she stay the night at my house. When we arrived at my place, we turned on all the lights and just cried in each other's arms. I asked her about it the next morning, and she confirmed it was not all in my head, but that was the extent to which we ever talked about it, and I'm sure this experience is what led to the end of our relationship. Things got too intense between us after this. I died in front of my girlfriend, and we went back to a checkpoint moments before. When I was around 20 a few years ago, I kept having dreams about a woman with long black hair named Aurora. They were different dreams, but for some reason, her distinct face and name always ended up in them. It got to the point where I would wake up frustrated and confused, trying to Google her name or find out how I was connected to her. After a few months, she stopped showing up, and I dismissed it, thinking my brain was just being a scumbag. Fast forward a few years later, Halloween 2009. I'm in the car with a friend stopped at a gas station. I'm about to pull out and merge onto a highway when I get a phone call from a random number. So I stopped the car, but no one answered. There was a person behind me who grew impatient, honked at me, and then swerved in front of me, instead of waiting for 2 seconds for me to move. The second they got on the highway, some silver Civic loses control of their wheel and crashes into the car that swerved in front of me. I called the cops and waited at the gas station for them to come. It turns out the drivers of both cars had died. It 100% would have been me if I had not received that phone call. I called it back a few hours later out of gratitude and curiosity. It rang 3 times and then went to voicemail. Hi, you've reached Aurora. Please leave your name and number. Never had goosebumps like that in my life. I called it again the next day because I was that confused about the whole situation. Some woman answers. We get to talking, and I tell her my entire story, including the dreams I had. She tells me she doesn't know how I got her number and that she never called me as far as she remembers. Weird. I ask her if she has a Facebook to confirm that she is in fact the woman in my dreams. I check her Facebook and holy crap, it's her.